was shaking his head down the phone. Like everyone now, he keeps repeating, who knows? I told him, make sure you keep our mom inside, for if it gets into her, she'll be gone. Then later that day Alf called, but in his smiling arms there was a frown. He said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. We woke up again, but we had nothing to do, so we had some warm fun, not once but twice. But instead of recording a record third time, you lay against me reading your phone. You were scrolling through more impossible news, until despite the morning that was still kissing you, you said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that this may be the end of our times. Hey God, are you still there? Can't you see in the houses we've built without you that we're all getting back on our knees? Oh Lord, do you think you could let this one pass? But God's reply was a chopper overhead, patrolling the streets with a didactic tune, and it was clear to us what its lyrics were asking, because my kids were asking it too. You know, Dad, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. You know, Dad, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. But regardless, we are still holding on, despite death being due. Together we glow. It left me wondering if somewhere up there the angels were peering through a telescope at us. Well, I don't know if they know they are doomed, but from up here they look beautiful. It's like I'm looking down on a garden of Eden, full of souls constructed from stars. It's like I'm looking down on a garden of Eden, full of souls constructed from stars. It's like I'm looking down a garden of Eden, full of souls constructed from stars.
Okay, we're going to bring on Anthony Herm in a sec. The Cardi Girls already interviewed him recently, but it was so fascinating, and you could feel that he had a lot more he wanted to say. So we've invited him back for a longer chat. G'day, Jason. And these chats now, what I'm really interested in is that there's been two human paths. The humans that basically obeyed the government went on one path, and the ones who have questions and are sort of standing back and thinking, hey, what's going on here? We've all begun odysseys, and where we've sort of lost friends, lost family, lost jobs, lost careers, and yet found so much as well, found each other, found great strength within ourselves. And I'm really interested in these things, even more than the facts that are all going on. So we're going to start there with Anthony and see how he goes. So here he is. This is Anthony Herman. Thank you for coming on, brother.
Oh, thank you, Michael. It's a privilege to be here.
Oh, cheers. You have to forgive me. I've got a bit of a cold, as I was saying. This is what in old school we call a cold,
Yeah. We
where
now
no
call it
one.
a detoxification event, but that's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Let's shut down the world. Um, but that, we were talking just before you came on about this. How has the last 5 years affected you with your sort of, trials and tribulations, and what
Mm.
have you learned about yourself as well in these last 5 years? Because they've been incredible years.
Yeah. Look, I never imagined. As I said, I have a background of being a chiropractor, so we didn't necessarily think the same to everyone else the whole way along. But still, even then, I had never imagined that 5 years could make such a difference in a lifetime. It's funny when you ask that question. I think about it brings up the whole pandemic, whatever you want to call it. Every possible emotion in me that you could imagine. I've got any, you can say sadness, you can look at anger, you can look at
Mm,
frustration, you can look at brilliance, you can look at discovery. I could every possible emotion you could think about. And when you said that it's a journey, that's exactly what happens to me also. I
mm,
was uber aware of the whole situation that was going on in regards to virology, at least
mhm,
beforehand, in regards to what they were stating was infectious disease and what wasn't infectious disease and what was a health condition was. That part was all okay. I was thinking back and I was about to pull a book off the shelf. The book's called Vaccination Roulette from 1997, and the two
vaccination
reference.
roulette.
Yes, it was by the Australian Vaccination Network at the time. Now they were taken to court, and they can no longer call themselves the Australian Vaccination Network. This was a group of volunteers and people that were trying to inform people of the possible dangers of any form of vaccination based on the scientific evidence or lack thereof that was available at the time. They were taken to court and they had to change the name. I can't remember I don't know what the name is now. But yeah, in this 1997, the two references to book for Eltham in Victoria were Dr. Robert Peacock and Dr. Anthony Herman. The
Wow.
principal chiropractor I worked with and myself, we were the two local references in this book at the back of the book. So it's been a long journey on that from that perspective. And I've known that all the way along. But what I didn't realize was the way what affected me the most, I guess, was the way humanity responded to it.
Yes.
When I was talking to the Cardi girls, and it was a great conversation, such wonderful people,
Yeah, they're
I
great.
talked about the reality engineering that took place.
Yeah.
Now, you had snippets of this, what we call reality engineering, that was taking place beforehand, but really, even I was not all over it. It was like, okay, well, that could be this, that could be that. It wasn't front of mind. However, within a very short period of time, the reality engineering hit home if you didn't go down the path of just believing what you were told.
Mm,
I don't know a person that didn't ask the question. My only question the whole time is, do you have any evidence?
yeah.
That was my only
Yeah.
question. If you've got some
How
evidence,
dare you?
yeah, and that allegedly is a thought-based crime in multiple
Yeah.
jurisdictions across this country at this point in time, unless you understand what's going on as well. Like you could argue that that's a brilliant question because it's so disruptive. It's the one they don't want you to ask. Therefore, keep pushing. It's the one that puts the vinegar in the cut. So if it's the one that puts the vinegar in the cut, don't stop
Yeah,
because it's
that's
the one
right.
they want to avoid the most. But my
Can
journey,
I just
I'll never
say
forget.
there though, what what brought you to that book? Was there just a suspicion early on, or because um my kids aren't vaccinated, but I got
Mm,
vaccinated growing up. You never had a choice. I remember I was in a school in Wales. They just got all us kids down to our underpants and they're just vaccinated. There was no, we weren't asked. I don't think the parents even gave. It was just done. And so we grew
yeah,
up. This is just done. We're just inoculating,
yeah.
and I think a lot of people are caught in that. It's just something you do, and but things changed, and now it was my ex-partner who was adamant about not getting the kids vaccinated. And I was like going, why wouldn't you do that? Isn't it just
Mm.
what you do? Just a thickhead. Just
Oh,
just to go. You just like you said, the engineer reality. You just think, this isn't that just what you do now? Because I am an anti-vaxxer now, to be honest, and now I'm like a heretic
mm,
in say a time of the medieval times. I'm a heretic. If they could, they'd burn me alive, I think. But
yeah.
it's such.
I'd,
If
get
they
a,
could get away with it, they would.
I'd probably get
Uh,
a cross next year, mate.
yeah, that's right. So, what got you questioning it, or have you always questioned them?
Look, I was very fortunate that I had a mother that questioned a lot of things when I was growing up.
Oh,
Now, I would have received some vaccination, but not all of them. I know that for a fact,
yeah,
because it was like, no, that's not right. That's not right. But back then, there was very few. There was very
yeah,
few
true.
vaccinations. Yet
That's
now
true.
there's a disgustingly large amount of vaccines of which no one has ever looked at the accretive toxicity that occurs across the board if you received all
Yeah,
of them.
that's correct.
And now
Yeah,
it's lunacy. It's gone
yeah,
beyond the point of actually, would you question it? Now it's, how could you possibly tolerate it?
yeah,
Even if you were the sort of, I guess, sleepiest person in the world, you
yeah,
still have to go, hang on, that's just too many from a number point of view. But I grew up in that environment, and then I was fortunate enough. I always wanted to be like a sports doctor, thinking, oh, medicine will be great.
oh
And
yeah,
I'll
yep,
be a
yep,
sports doctor. Fantastic. And
yeah,
in going into that, I went into chiropractic, and it totally turned the corner at the last moment because I read about what the roles actually entailed and what chiropractic made sense to me. And it's that chiropractic background that really drilled home. It's very strong philosophically to say, hey, the body has a unique ability to always self-regulate and heal. And
that's
that is
extraordinary.
the most important thing we can all know. That is it. That is the premise to everything. Now, I asked the question, Michael, what's the difference between a freshly dead person and an alive person?
Yeah, excellent, excellent question. I used to work in nursing homes briefly when I first came to Melbourne. I was around about 3 people who died
Mm.
in front of us because it was nursing
Yeah.
homes. And you'd look at the person and you knew they were gone. There'd be people, we'd be around and someone would go, "Okay, they're gone."
They're
And
gone.
you could
Yeah.
just spiritually feel it. It's
Yeah.
so strange, you
And,
know?
even in the mechanistic model, what's the difference? Because that freshly dead person can still have a heartbeat. That freshly dead person can still have blood circulating around their body. They might even have some neurological activity. All these
Yeah.
alleged
Their nails
signs,
grow.
that determine the difference between an alive person and a freshly dead person is that the dead person can't heal.
Wow.
They have lost the ability to heal. That is the only difference.
Wow.
And so when you look at that, and I'm sort of jumping ahead when I say this, is part of the realization I had over this whole important time is based around that. That's the philosophy that I was trained in. It's such a beautiful, eloquent philosophy.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a chiropractor anymore. I've
Yeah.
told AHPRA that I want nothing to do with them ever because they're a criminal organization. Now, they have
Yeah.
done everything to attack me. Just so everyone's aware, they have they tried to allegedly suspend my registration, emergency suspension of my registration, because possibly someone said or thought they might have heard that I didn't believe in COVID. Literally, that's the extent of it. They've tried to take me to court for practicing without a license. They've done everything. Now, I've said, I'll see you later. And you know what they've said? Well, we've had a 4-year investigation into you now. And we're now going to allegedly take you to VCAT for a professional misconduct charge. Now, it's said that you could not actually make it up.
No,
What
they're
they're based
savage.
on.
I
However,
haven't
I
had
have
any
a different.
personal dealings, except a
Yeah.
lot of my interviews with doctors, they transcribe them. I had a lot to do with William Bay and Dr. Paul
Mm.
Easterhouse and Miley Trin. That and they're vicious.
Yeah.
They are a vicious load of thugs.
And what's the best thing about a vicious thug? They're just a bully.
Yeah.
And when you pull the curtain back, Oz is standing there with all his little equipment trying to look really big and tough. And so at the end of the day, that's what we just have to know is that, okay, well, if we understand the basics to life is that no one has control over you like that. I'm not going to sit there and go, and I'll be very open with this. I have 28 charges lined up for the individuals, criminal charges for each individual of AHPRA that I've dealt with that they'll be
Okay.
dealing with soon. So it's not about, let's worry about APRA. They're vicious. Great. Look, they're vicious because that's what they have. Whoever pulls their puppet strings wants them to be vicious. But that's
Yes.
okay. But
Well, I think William Bay proved that in
100%.
the magistrate. If you read the transcript, the magistrate's clearly taking on APRA and basically saying in verbatim that they are bullying.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
a law
Yeah.
to the right.
Absolutely. And like I'll get, well, sort of, I'll move into APRA a bit. I want to come back to answering your question, Michael. Sorry, I feel like I'm
That's
moving all
right.
over the place here on you.
Yes,
Sorry, I lost my
that is
train.
great. Look at that comment there. Go back to Jason Cormick. G'day, Jason. Persecuted for not believing in the boogeyman.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's
That's a
if it
T-shirt,
wasn't,
Jason.
yeah, absolutely. If it wasn't so damaging to people, it would be
Yeah.
humorous. It would be comedy, literally. You've never seen anything like it. So, but that was that chiropractic background that led me to go, okay, well, we question everything. It's
Yes.
basically, I'm not going to say no DNA because I don't even believe in DNA anymore. But I
Wow.
question, oh, well, look, what part of what we need to do when we talk about the journey we've been on and where my journey took me is now I question everything.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely everything. Because when you look at a lot of the science that we learned at university or the business, I've done an MBA as well at a really good business school. It's crap. Most of it is absolute rubbish. We're taught absolute garbage. You have to question everything.
Yeah.
And so I was questioning it. Now, when COVID came around, I had just got back from a trip overseas with my family, and I'd seen a friend who had just arrived 2 days after me. And the difference between me arriving on this day in March and him arriving 2 days later in March is he allegedly had to quarantine for 2 weeks. And I live in a beautiful mountain town in Victoria, and I was riding my mountain bike past his house, and I saw Nick standing there. I said, "What are you doing?" And he said, "I'm quarantining." I said, "You've got to be kidding. What are you quarantining for?" And he said, "Oh, well, they've told me I've got to quarantine for COVID." And Nick's a smart guy. And I said to him, "Mate, look, that's not what you think. Do some research. You've got a bit of time on your hands. Do some research. Look at these 3 things, and then you'll work out you're all okay." Well, did Nick do some research? It came out 2 weeks later, and he knew more about the whole entire world than anyone I've ever known to this point in time. And he was awake as you could possibly get.
Wow.
And I'm like, right, okay, that's a great outcome. I just assumed the rest of the world would be like that,
Yes.
but they weren't.
Yeah. Now let's talk. One of the most extraordinary interviews I did was with 2 doctors who had over 50 years of experience each. One was from Israel, where he taught GPs. The other one was from New Zealand, and in his last 10 years, he'd become a psychiatrist. Now, they both had massive families, and they basically begged all of their families not to take it, giving them all the research and everything. Every single member of their family took it. It's got nothing to do with intelligence. It is something else of why people are going along with this.
Yeah. Look, I think there's a difference between intelligence and I'm not going to say knowledge.
Yeah,
but
or wisdom.
You can have knowledge, but intelligence is knowing how to apply that knowledge.
Yeah,
When to
critical
apply it.
thinking even.
Yeah, why to apply it, putting it in context. And I agree. I think we've been educated into a point of such infinitesimal docile stupidity that we no longer know how to question.
Yeah.
It is beaten out of us that you should question.
Yeah.
I think there's and the people that I know, everyone has a story. Everyone has a little story as to why they questioned it and why they did something.
Yeah.
I really questioned it and took action. There was 2 things. Did I question it from minute 1? Yes. Did I do anything about that questioning? Is the second question. Because I believe everyone questioned it. Unless you didn't have 2 neurons connected within your cerebellum, it is not possible that you didn't question it. Is this a good idea? So we move on from that. We know it's questionable. Then you go, okay, well, what will you do about it? So, and that's where intelligence. I don't believe it's intelligence. I think you're correct. It's not intelligence. There's another word to it. Is it integrity? integrity is how
Do
you
you
apply
know,
your knowledge.
can
And
I talk it from another point of view? Because I was prominent in most of the Melbourne marches from just before the Shrine. And I was just there. And eventually I was talking, but I was there. And one thing I noticed when we were on the steps of Parliament, because everyone's going, why won't they wake up? Why won't they wake up? And I said, do you know what we're actually saying to them? I'm saying to you, Anthony, I want you to risk your career, risk your house, risk losing all your
mm,
family and friends, risk losing your car,
mm,
and get a piece of cardboard, write freedom on it, and come down to the Parliament steps and get pepper sprayed with us. And most people went, "Nyeh."
yeah,
And this is a pragmatic thing, because even when I was in
mm,
hospital recently, where all these nurses and doctors were taking great care of me, you could see that they loved the job, they loved the income, and they're always taking vaccines one after another. So to them, this was just another shot that they had to take to keep their job, without actually thinking or considering, here I am saving these people's lives. Why do I have to take all this shit in my veins just to do
mm,
something good for you? You know, we're actually
yeah,
going to these people. You want to take care of us, you want to save our lives, then you've got to take all this crap into your veins, whether you want to or not, or you can't
mm.
look after us. It's actually rude.
Oh, it's also insanity.
Yeah,
It's absolute insanity. Is that doing something then expecting the result's going to be okay at some point in time?
yeah, yeah.
Look, and I don't disagree, because I don't judge. I don't think. I really think we have a terrible. We don't have healthcare in this system. We have disease and sickness care. Now,
Yes, that's
I
correct.
appreciate it, and that's important, because in crisis situations or in trauma situations, it's great stuff.
Yeah.
But we don't really have healthcare. How do
No,
we
we don't.
make somebody healthy? Yep.
No.
And I think there's a lot of great people. No, like disease and sickness care doesn't have a mortgage on caring. Neither does healthcare have a mortgage on caring. And I think there's a bunch of wonderful people within disease and sickness care, which I
Yes, I
call
know.
alternative healthcare, because that's drugs and surgery. That's alternative to being normal. I believe there's a bunch of wonderful people that care a great deal, and they have been heavily persecuted as well. Heavily
Yes,
persecuted. Yeah. And look,
absolutely.
yeah, and unlawfully,
Yeah.
because part of my journey was a huge lawful journey. It's funny, Michael, you mentioned the marches. Now, I couldn't go to any of those marches because I had criminal prosecution case against Daniel Andrews at the time. So I had to be careful where I stepped.
Yeah. Hey, man,
Um,
Victoria was a dangerous place to
yeah,
be,
I
man.
remember my wife couldn't go to our daughter's dance concert during
Wow.
COVID,
Yeah.
and it was like the castle. The local
Yeah.
police came around and said, "I'm just part." Now, I wasn't there at the time. I was meeting up with some of my chiropractic colleagues at the time, um, and this night, and they come around and said, "Look, we're just passing on a message. Don't turn up to the dance concert," because we've given the advance notice saying, "Look, we understand the law. You can't prevent this. Yada yada yada." There was 6 police cars, squad cars. There was 12 police to stop one little woman, which actually was me, because the Andrews case was a week later, from entering the dance concert. 12 police came in from a nearby town to stop one. Now, I had to wait around the corner, because what they were trying to do was arrest me and put me away before the case, so that I
Yes.
couldn't even get to the case.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but when you understand the law, and we're jumping over jumping around here a little bit here,
What
but I
you're talking
couldn't go.
about is The Sopranos. I mean, Dan
It's
Andrews was like Tony Soprano, and
yeah, it's
they
surreal.
had guns. They would in that period, they were doing what they wanted, you know?
Well,
Yeah.
this is one
We
of the
saw
yeah, this
things
is
in the police. You think of all the violence we saw. They had the BLM march where the police got on their knees and said, "We'll never do violence against protesters again." And then a few weeks later, the shoot Matt Lawson. They pepper spray Rukshan. I got
mm,
pepper sprayed, and then from then they went on a basically rubber bullet spree. You know, spraying, pepper spraying old ladies, arresting pregnant women in their house. I mean, they just became our oppressors, not our
well,
protectors, our oppressors in an afternoon.
yeah, and I think that was part of in my journey. I just sat there dumbfounded, going, "Okay." Now, the police charter, the Victorian Police Charter, I think it's point number 7. Does everyone know who the police is? So if I was to ask you, Michael, who are the police?
Wow, I don't think I can answer. The only thing I would say from my perspective is I just think this is a group of people who've decided they want to dedicate their lives to protecting society from bad people. I know that's simple, but this is what my belief, that's what it was.
It's a pretty good explanation, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if you read the police charter, it's a bit better than that, actually. We are the police.
Wow.
So I think it's Section 7 of the Victorian Police Charter says we are the police. We just employ them to act on our behalf. So notice the relationship there. The people, we, employ them to act on our behalf to keep the peace.
Yeah.
What they were used for during the pandemic was to be a force, a government force. So a military-based force for the government. It's unheard of. And it's totally against the police charter. So one big thing I realized out of all of this, from a lawful or legal point of view, was that jurisdiction is really, really important. So they were operating out of jurisdiction. They are not a violent force for the government. In fact, the police exist when you look at that. What that police charter says, the police exist in order for us to prevent the government from criminal activity. As well, we'll think about it. And if we go even higher into
the opposite of what we actually saw.
100%. So we can walk into the police and say, I'm going to take control now. I'm the highest ranking officer because you work for me.
Yeah.
Now, unless you're committing a crime, if a police officer knows their police charter, and that's the charter they have to act by, that's what's going to happen. They have to listen to you.
We sort of knew that. One of the chants that we did at Epic and we did in the marches, especially when the police were being brutal, was you serve us, which is the truth. But they just ignored it. I had a bus driver, because they were driving around in Greyhound buses and listening to Telegram and Signal to see where we were going to meet up. And then they turn up at force at these, wherever the protests were going to be, they turn up in force. And this bus driver used to call me up, terrified and really struggling, because she's saying they'd have a sergeant or something walking down the central aisle, basically revving them up to crack heads. I want you to crack heads. I want you to, this is it. Basically psyching these, a lot of them young people up to beat the hell out of us, simply because we were trying to defend the freedoms that our forefathers had given to us, that we thought were enshrined in our Constitution. We found out they weren't. But this was what it was, Yeah.
Well, and it's interesting you say that you weren't even protecting. You actually just were enforcing.
Yeah.
When you think about it, turning up. See, the protest, the problem with, you can look at protests lots of different ways. And one of the problems with protests is they permit them in so statutory law is basically the junk that, the corporate law we have to deal with in certain sections, right? It's a lower jurisdiction. And that junk there permits protests, therefore that means they want you to do them.
Yes.
I love the idea of everyone getting together because I think we need to do that.
Yeah.
But I would say, let's not call it anything a protest moving on. Let's call it a day of action. Because this is the case. Now, we don't like a law. So basically 100,000 people turn up and we walk right into Parliament, as we have the right to do, and we say, guys, you are not operating with authority here. Out. Okay, this law's not going to happen. And guess what? That law won't happen.
It'd be amazing to
we can
see
stand up in the streets and do and sort of yell and shout things, which I get is important.
Yeah.
But it's they want us to do that.
Because when we were in the Parliament steps, they would never let us up past the bottom steps. Other protesters would come along, BLM or whatever else. They were allowed all over the steps, right up to the doors. But us, no. It was clearly shown that we were second-class citizens, and that was the thing.
Yeah. Well, what they want is, remember, it's reality engineering again, Michael. It's perception. So if I ask you the question, what is the Constitution?
Well, the Constitution, as far as I believe, is a contract between us and God
Beautiful.
that gets and our sort of emissary to God is supposed to be, well, the king, really. But basically, that constitution cannot be changed without a referendum, and that's
Mm.
but that's what it is. These are our rights under God. That's what I believe it is. I could be wrong, but that's what I believe.
Yeah, look, it's a really good description. One of the best descriptions I've had because I've asked so many people that same question. And really, we're not. And the tweak I'd make on that would be to say this: it's a contract. Okay, it's a contract between us under the blessing of Almighty God.
Yeah.
Okay, so only by His blessing do we get to perform this contract. We have an agreement with the monarch at the time was Queen Victoria when our contract was formed, our constitution was formed, and to permit her to set up a government on our behalf
Yeah.
under these terms and conditions so they don't screw us. Because it was well known at the point in time that governments and monarchs would screw people over.
Yeah.
So the protections of a constitution are simply there for us not to be screwed over. Now, when I ask the question, okay, well, what laws was the constitution formed under? I get a blank.
Well, as far as I know, this goes back to the Magna Carta, which is I could be wrong, where basically the people rose up against being ruled by a king and wanted parliamentary rule. But look, I could be absolutely wrong.
No,
But so
no,
what is the
look,
answer?
that's a great, like the Magna Carta is a very important document, and the Bill of Rights is a very important document for Australians. Now, we could argue that it's all a bunch of crap as well because it's just made up and it's on in people's minds. But let's just say something exists within there. But when we think about the beauty of, okay, that contract under the blessing of Almighty God has to be divine law, and the expression of divine law throughout humanity was always the laws of our customs and traditions over time, known as common law. Now, what happens? They try and misconstrue this, so people think, "Oh, common law is within statutory law, that corporate junk we deal with each day, is to give you, fines for speeding and all this kind of garbage, and you have to pay rates and all this kind of crap." Right? All that stuff. That's common. They try and say, "Oh, it's under common law." They introduce it, and so common law sits there. It doesn't. It sits above that.
Yeah.
So common law is a really simple, powerful thing. So the jurisdiction we must all rise to is to say, "Hey, no. The contract I have, which overrides anything you're doing right now, says you can't do this."
Yeah.
Such as, for instance, when it comes to poisonous, genetically modified bioweapons and forcing you to put them into your body, the Constitution has a protection there that, oh, no, it's been ruled on in court. Statutory law can't rule on it because the Constitution was formed under common law, true common law. Now, the premises of common law are brilliantly simple and magnificent. It's a section, I think it's
I just
51.
put a hey out to all the because there's so many common law groups all over Australia.
Yeah.
So they'll be loving hearing this. There's huge amounts, and they're really passionate. I was in Brisbane. There was a group meeting there. They meet up. They're really because where I feel we are now, and I am absolutely guilty of this. Where you said about engineering of social engineering, I wouldn't have known the Constitution if I tripped over it, if I was wiping my ass with it, because I was never taught it in school. It was never brought up. I was deep within the she'll be right, basically ideology, and just I was interested in philosophical, deeper things. It was very hard to find anyone who would talk about it. So you just got on with your life. And I remember one of the things that really changed my life was when Dan Andrews was saying, we're going to have to remove some of your freedoms, basically, to keep you safe. And I went, what? No.
Yeah.
We have to talk. What? No, we have to have a conversation about this. But so many people were going, that's fine, that's great. We were never free anyway. Take them, and they'll give them back to us once they've. And it just seemed to be a nightmare. And so I was waking up then. So it was like
Yeah.
after the first lockdown, it was a slow waking up for me. But there's a beauty to common law. There's such a beauty to
Yeah.
it.
Look, absolutely, the eloquence is amazing. When I
Yeah.
summarize common law as just don't cause harm or loss to person, place, property, thing, or the environment. Don't threaten to cause harm, loss to person, place, property, thing, or the environment, and be
Yeah.
responsible for your actions. If you do cause harm or loss, you need to cause a remedy. It's so
Yeah.
simple. It solves everything. You don't need pages and pages of this and
Yeah.
law books and lawyers, and that's the parasitic corporatized jurisdiction that sits way lower than the laws of which the
Well, it's
Constitution, which is
interesting.
our protection.
I have thought
Mm.
about that. You know, humans are very good at making businesses out of everything. So basically, as soon as Reagan said, once they passed it in Congress that Big Pharma wasn't liable for any injuries from vaccines, he created a mega industry. These guys are just going to
100%.
pump it out now. A perfect business model. Everyone has to take it, and if it injures you, you can't touch us. Perfect
Well,
business model.
yeah.
You
Well,
know?
no, it was even more sinister than that, Michael, wasn't it? We'll set up well, let's say in our country, a kangaroo court. Let's set up a
Yeah,
little kangaroo court here, of which will tie you up for years, and nothing will ever happen, and that's your
yeah,
rights.
yeah.
And so, what you got to
And
do is you've got to
so just
step
finish
out of
over
your.
that thought. That
Mm,
sorry, but but that's what's happened with the legal fraternity as well. It's become a
yeah,
huge business. It's just business. These lawyers, even I was watching the barristers working for Melissa McCann, and they screwed up. You know, the
mm,
judge said this is terrible. As far as I know, I think Melissa McCann or someone said that that barrister was on $900 a day. How can you hire someone for $900 a day and have them screw up unless he's an idiot, which I don't think he would be if he's earning $900 a day, or is
is it
he
planned?
is he more working for someone else?
Mm,
I don't
mm.
know.
Well, Michael, one of the interesting things I learned through the multiple times I've been to court over the past 5 years was that every barrister is an officer of the court.
Mm,
They work for the courts.
mm,
So people might think, oh, they're working for me. No, they're representing you as a dead person, which is just a stupid concept anyhow. Um, they're representing you. They don't work for you. They work for the
mm.
courts. Now, the objective of the courts is to make money at the end of the day. The
Yeah,
objective of the courts, yeah. And so constitutionally, though, we have protections to say, no, you can only do this, you can only rule on this, you can only do this, you can only do this. But because we all operate down here in the corporate laws and we think that lawyers actually know what they're doing and the lawyers work for us, well, then we never can raise ourselves into the jurisdiction of where the Constitution was formed. So we have a
yeah,
contract, someone breaches my contract, they're going to hear about it. Yep. Like if I had a contract with you, I said, Michael, you're going to provide me with 10 pairs of shoes. And you
yeah,
said, all right, Herm, you got to pay me $190 for those 10 pairs of shoes and I'll provide you with the shoes. I pay you
yeah,
$190 and you say, no, I'm not giving you the shoes anymore. Now, we had it all written down, all in an agreement. We'd signed it. We had meeting of the minds. We had consideration. We had terms and conditions before the consideration was passed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have a contract. Everyone goes, oh, that's under commercial law. No, it's not. It's under common law. That's been around way before statutory law, commercial law. It was back eons ago. Yep, our culture and tradition has always had that. Now, I also question history. I don't think I'm going, oh, great, history is straightforward and everything they've told us is true. No, I don't really believe it. Basically, Michael, I wake up dumber every day, feeling dumber every day than I did
I
the day
feel the
before.
same. I
Yeah,
have a saying that when I was young and coming into my own, I had a suspicion that I was a mushroom kept in the dark and fed bullshit. Now I'm almost 60 and I know without a shadow of a doubt that I'm a mushroom.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm with you. Growing right there next year
You know,
in a big
I'm very
swamp.
good at discerning bullshit.
Yeah,
I feel that COVID basically washed over us and stole our identity. And the truth, we don't know. We're trying to discern the truth because we only get snippets of it, but we're incredibly good at bullshit. We can
yeah.
point out bullshit, and we are besieged by bullshit. Could you get her? If someone's at the door, just 2 secs. So yeah,
Mm.
this is how I believe now, and all of us, like yourself, we're all on this journey now, standing up from the destruction of the she'll be right era, going, okay, who are we? What's our constitution? How does this actually work? And more importantly, Why are we broke? Why are we
Mm.
sick?
Yeah.
And why do we seem to be heading towards tyranny and communism? You know?
Yeah. It's a fascinating journey. Part of my background is Hungarian Austrian, and my grandfather,
Okay,
who I
yeah, great.
met a few times, they escaped during the student uprising in 1956 from
Yeah.
Hungary. As the Russians
Wow.
fired bullets over the Danube, they waded across into no man's land and etc. Allegedly, the story goes.
And someone yelled
And
out.
and part of his I only met him a few times in my life actually, but one of the things he did say to me is when it turns to bad or turns to shit, move quickly, move early.
Yeah. Wow.
Because they recognized what had happened to them. They said, "Gee, we just got boiled like a frog."
Yeah.
You know, the old frog analogy: chuck a frog in a pot of boiling water, jump straight out. Chuck a frog in a pot of water and slowly bring it to the boil. It'll boil and die. And that's exactly what's happened to us. We're not sensing it. So, bit by bit by bit by bit by bit by bit, incrementally, they've tweaked things all the way along until we're getting to a point where some of us now are feeling the heat. So we can feel the heat. We're detecting it now. Like we are the people. There's a lot of great people in Australia. I used to be very negative because I've got every emotion under the sun. I've been energized.
man,
I've
that's
been
what we've been.
fatigued by this thing. I've been the most positive I've ever been in my life. I've been the most negative I've ever been in my life. Everything. I've come round to the fact that now we're in a situation, what's happening with that, part of it doesn't matter. We have a choice to either do this. We have a choice to create greatness or fight darkness.
Yeah. Can I just with your family leaving in that student uprising? My father was an MP in the army because you had to do service in the. This was he was Welsh. This was the English Army, and his first once he'd done basic training, his first mission was to meet a load of Hungarians and Austrians that were coming into a town called Port Maddock on a ship. And when they saw the army, they were so terrified because they thought they were going to get shot. So
Yeah.
Dad said he had to move away, and the police came in and they were just processing them. He just brought this up. He just told me about it. And I said, "Do you know what is the real beautiful and tragic thing about that? Is that the beautiful thing is that those Hungarians had somewhere to go. We
Yeah.
don't. There's no country out there that's not been affected by this. This is a time for us humans to actually stand up and go, no, we're not going into tyranny. We're just
Yeah.
not doing it.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. It's if we ever had a gigantic kick up our ass to wake up and say, hey, we have an opportunity now. Now, whether we want the opportunity or not, stiff shit.
Yeah.
The situation is this. And so we have to say, who are we going to be?
Yeah.
I've got 3 daughters. And I stood up during the pandemic because I said, look, I'm not going to be the father. My grandfather and father told me what happens when tyranny comes on board. You either got to get out of there or you got to push back hard and go early.
Yeah.
If you're going to push back hard, go early.
Yeah.
Look, arguably I may have jumped the gun, but you got to do something.
No, I don't think so. I think it was very clear very early on. I remember one of the first marches I went to. This is where I met Tom, who does the What the Fuck show. I was there when I saw Matt Lawson get shot. I saw these police turn up like stormtroopers, and somewhere in you, okay, we are somewhere we never meant to be. We're not in Kansas anymore.
Yeah.
And you went home from those marches with everyone wishing that they'd used real bullets, everyone on Facebook saying, oh, they should have shot you, but you realizing this is war. And it's against us. And you have to choose what you're going to do now.
And yeah, it's funny that I also called it a war. And I believe we've been at war. It's just not an overt war. And it's not one that people are recognizing. And part of that war was the brainwashing that's occurred over the last 40 years to get to this point of where we are in the war. So it's a particularly sinister battle in that you kill people not by shooting them in the face anymore. You kill people through their own stupidity. That's the way we're going to look at it.
Cultural terrorism, someone said recently in one of my interviews. And I thought, that's it. That's what it is, We've gone
Mm.
like, look at us now. So I think you're younger than me, but you still would remember a time when we had no computers, when you didn't have an ATM, where you went
No,
down Friday to get money out, or you had no money for the weekend, and we survived. And we didn't have a mobile phone to call each other. So your kids went out, you sort of hoped that they come home, and we this was it. And there was definitely issues there. Absolutely, it wasn't all beautiful, but you can sense that it was a simpler time. When
mm,
now it's non-stop head fuckery. Let's be honest. You
yeah,
get up, you've got dead kids from Gaza on your social media feed. You've got the prime minister dancing around as though he's in the Sound of Music and everything's hunky dory. You got all this other stuff going on, and you literally, if it wasn't for my friends that I've met through the movement, I could probably go insane,
yeah,
because
yeah,
you'd really struggle to hold on to your sanity. It is literally podcasts like this and these great, great brothers and sisters I've met that keep me grounded and go, yeah, there's some sort of threat going on to our very existence here, you know?
yeah. It's amazing you say that because I think without a community of people, what they wanted was isolation, and
Yes.
I honestly don't know a person to begin with, if they weren't awake, that didn't say, "Gee, I thought I was the only one."
Yes.
So we had a
Yes.
common law assembly up here of about 300 to 400 people at one stage, meeting under the cover of darkness in the
Yeah.
middle of the night in multiple locations, just to help each other out. And what the thing that people found, the beauty of that, we didn't solve the world's problems. It didn't,
No.
we didn't allegedly win. Okay, but what it did, it gave people recognized they weren't alone. They
You were
weren't the
forming
only one.
community.
They weren't the only one. Wow, someone else has seen this as well. I'm not
Yeah.
going crazy.
Yeah.
And as a chiropractor for 30 years, the same thing applied. Is the chiropractors always got together amazing philosophical conversations because saying, shit, healthcare is a joke. Nobody is recognizing that the body has a unique ability to self-regulate and heal because we're created that way.
Yeah.
Are we going crazy? Are we the crazy ones? We can see that sickness, every category of chronic illness and sickness is continually increasing over time.
Yeah.
And it's increasing not just in the
Despite
age group you
all our
expect to see
medicine,
it, it's
all our, yeah.
increasing in kids. I mean, they invented diabetes type 1, if you ask me, because kids were born with it because mum had diabetes. You are born to come out into the environment that you are in. If you are in a famine, your physiology will come out in a way that you'll survive that famine because we're so beautifully created and designed. So
Okay.
if mum
Can
has
I add
diabetes,
something to that? This is something that I've learned in the last few years. There's little things that I've learned on this journey. And I say to people, when we inject our children with hepatitis B in the first 20 minutes, what we're saying to the universe and evolution or God, depending which way you believe, we're saying that the universe has created this child, or God has gifted us this child that is incapable of surviving in this dangerous modern world unless Big Pharma starts filling its veins full of shit. So
yeah,
we've been sent an incomplete miracle and we've got to fix it, which is sacrilegious,
100% in any spiritual domain you want to look at, it is just completely obtuse to
Yeah.
any logical thinking from a spiritual sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way you have to look at it. But it's what happens is that we're trained and we're just brainwashed the whole way along to think, no,
Yeah.
you things can go wrong with you. It can just happen by chance.
Yeah.
Because if someone said to me, are you an anti-vaxxer? I'll say, no, I'm just anti-stupidity. Okay, because if vaccination actually worked, the conceptually, maybe it's a good idea to get exposed. If infectious disease, as they say, actually existed,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe. But
Well, I'm with you.
it's
It could be right. It could be. No, like say I've got this bug at the moment, but I've also been aware that there are theories that this is my body cleansing itself. I actually don't have a virus. So, like I said, I don't know. I'm willing to be open to everything,
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's
And
where I stand. I don't really have any dogmatic thinking either way at the moment. I realize that I've been born into a world of lies, and those lies have continued to prosper and grow. And all my life, the truth is very, very hard. One of the only truths I really know, why I think we're so we defend it and yearn for it so much, is love.
yes.
Is you have this like you with your 3 daughters. You know you love your daughters. There's absolutely no question there. No, it's not a figment of my imagination. It's not an error of my soul. I love my
Mm.
daughters. Simple as
Yeah.
that. You know? Yeah.
It's and they're like they're beautiful natural laws that you're talking about there, and the love is the strongest. And
Yeah.
that's when I'll come back to say, when you think about that, and I was saying before that my take from where we are right now in the world is create greatness, don't fight darkness.
Yeah.
And creating greatness is the basis of that has to be love.
Yeah. I have a
'Cause what
saying on the front of the bus that I told to this guy who vanished. I said, greatness is not a destiny, it's a choice. And even deciding to strive for greatness is greatness within itself. And currently, our world is under attack, and the
Mm,
meek can't save us. All
mm,
that can save us is an army of greatness to choose well.
yeah,
And that just came out of me on the phone call to this guy. And then I realized this is it. We've made choices. We don't know we know we're on the right path. As I say all the time, we don't know where we're going, but we persevere. We're resilient. We keep going. And we're discovering greater strengths about ourselves that literally the good times didn't allow us to realize the arsenal we had in ourselves.
mm,
And the arsenal is this ability to continue to fight.
yeah, yeah. And I love that. Is that continued ability to fight, but I think it's fighting for the right reason.
Mm,
Because before, like in part of in the pandemic, one thing that really got up my nose, and rightfully so, was my sister was diagnosed with stage at that time stage 3 cervical cancer. Was in
mm.
Tasmania, and I could not go ahead and see her before she died,
Oh
simply
my
because of
god.
these bullshit rules. So, as you can imagine, you start to question, like, righto, well, hang on, I know the science is absolute garbage. There's no validity to the science. There is no validity to the science of virology. It is a bankrupt science. It is mythology made to deceive us because there is
Yeah.
zero science from that perspective. Because if anyone can provide it to me, fantastic. I'll take it and read it, and I'll take it on board. And if you can show me valid evidence, but there is none. So the first point. Then you go, okay, well, then if that's absolute crap, and we know it was, the papers I used were, I've gone through, I've lectured on it before, it's absolute garbage. How can they be doing this from a lawful point of view? And you start to go, right, well, I'm going to just crush the people. Then you go, well, hang on, no, that's not the right thing. But there's a feeling inside you, and I said every emotion can be pulled up inside you around this. Part of it was anger. Hang on, that's bullshit. You can't do that. This is wrong. Then part of it is sadness. Hang on, I'm so sad this has happened. I don't want to be like them.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to turn around and be like them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one thing I think we all have to be cognizant of when we say create greatness, because it's easy to walk around. And I have to be honest, it's happened before. And if people haven't said this, I don't think you're being honest. And it's bad language. I'd be walking around looking at people going, what a fucking idiot. They're wearing a mask.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
that was actually the words that were going through. That's incomprehensible to think about another human being like that.
Yeah.
And
But
then
look,
people
I'll
that,
give you a perfect example. We were at a place called Three Springs, just down the road from Three Springs. I think it's three ways. So you go up to Darwin, down to Alice, and across to Fitzroy
yes,
Crossing.
yeah,
And there was a massive boab tree there. And this is when we were traveling around Australia, interviewing people town to town to see if there was any resistance. And we were just going to photograph our vehicle next to this boab tree when a man passed us coming from Fitzroy Crossing with a mask on in his car by himself. And that's like a 300-kilometer, 253, maybe longer journey. And so you do think that you're just like in shock.
Mm.
Who's he? You know,
What's he scared
but
of? And
you
that's
couldn't
the
ask because he drove
never
past, but
ending,
you're just like in shock.
the never ending. So what we've got to ask ourselves some great questions here, Michael. We've got to say, okay, look, the whole you're right, I'm wrong thing will never work.
No, that's right.
The whole fighting darkness, you live in the swamp with them.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about you. I've dwelled in the swamp a little bit. I've fought, done this kind of stuff. It's you can do it, and we can fight back. But really, what do people, even the dopiest people in the world, because I don't believe anyone's actually bad. We all often have the same values. Like even murderers want to be loved. Yeah. And so they're within us, in our beautiful creation, we have these really good values. Now, whether you live by them, look, I'm not going to argue one way or the other. I don't know everyone. Maybe some people are better than others. I don't know. And whether you even look at it that way. But I almost totally lost my train of thought then. Just wind me back a fraction.
You're saying you don't believe in that most people are bad. You believe most people are
Yeah.
good.
So, yeah. Like most people are actually really good. So even the people that like might have been forceful about saying you should, were horrible about people saying you should be shot when you go to a protest. Oh, you should vaccinate because we had to. And like you're scum and low life because you're not doing this because you've got a brain and you're thinking, we're just following and we're doing the right thing and we're righteous and you're not. There were some really horrible people.
Yeah.
Really, really, really horrible people out there. Or that's what you think. Or were they just people that were acting horribly because they didn't know how to handle the situation in any way, shape, or form? Whether it be at whatever level that
They
was, a
believed
spiritual
what they were
level.
doing.
Pardon me?
They believed what they were doing.
Yeah.
They actually
yeah.
believed they were doing the right thing. They truly believed that we
Truly,
were bad people, selfish people, endangering society, refusing to get vaccinated and willing to risk killing their parents, their grandparents. And, this is it. It was kind of belief
Yeah.
that I think some of them had,
Yeah.
maybe.
And yeah. And so on the basis of that, if you think about it, you say, okay, well, look, pretty much everyone's could be good in some way, shape, or form. There is the whole thing behind, Christianity is to say, oh, well, look, everyone's got the ability to be good at some point in time. They can all recover. We can all forgive them. And like a lot of religions, a lot of spiritualities around that, everyone's got the ability to be good. We've got to say to ourselves, okay, well, we're going to live in that because living in the swamp, fighting someone, you always have to have someone to fight. So let's leave the swamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's leave this one. So lots of fights. You can have lots of fights. You can try and fight with this if you want, but I'm not bothered. I couldn't be bothered fighting with him more. I'm too busy doing something that's going to be creative, constructive. I'm going to create a better world. What am I going to do? Now, I'm not going to. Now, look, well, I don't know about you, but I spend a lot of time saying, hey, do you know what? Do you know what this exists? This doesn't exist, and explaining it to people and watching the blank stares and the just, brilliant explanations. A lot of hard work going into reading to understand this stuff. But just the inability, the complete inability to understand any of it. They don't get that. People don't get that. What do we do? So when you're in a marathon, you want to, do really well in a marathon, get a great time.
That's what I've been saying for ages.
It's
like a relay marathon. We're the first baton runners. This is a long fight.
But they're not going to stand around and every person I run past say, hey, do you know if you do this, you'll be able to run better and you can keep up when you come with me? No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to win the race because I created something great. And other people go, shit, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
So what I can see that is really hard, and we've got to fight for this one, is the alternative or the alternatives or the best available next options all the time. In health, it's there are so many now, and it's breaking down. As people know, there's a lot more people are aware. I'm not just going to go and get an injection for something that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have this surgery. I'm not going to. No, that's not the way people are starting to slowly understand. Yeah. And the stories get out there. The problem with the internet for the disease and sickness model, which is a business model that's predicated on sick people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't. Let's not get this right. Let's just understand this completely. That I always ask people, if the target market for the profession that I was in, chiropractic, was anyone with a spine that needed to improve their ability to heal, that's a great target market because the outcome of that business is an improved ability to heal, so better quality of life. Okay. The target market for disease and sickness care is someone who's sick.
Yeah.
So
And
if
will
you take
take
away
pills for
any
the
of
rest of their life, you know?
yeah, you take away
And which a lot of our parents are doing that, you know, not all of them, but there's a lot of our parents that are just pill poppers the rest of their life, and because they believe from their doctors. I used to see when I was in nursing homes, the doctors would come in, and every time they'd give the person a new pill, you'd have these old people, some with dementia, other people just sitting in bed. They'd been on 18, 19 pills a day.
Yep.
Who knows
A-
what they do?
And they were
Just
sitting in hospital bed, 18, 19 pills a day. And what sort of food were they being fed?
crap.
You would
Just
not give
crap.
it to your dog.
No, they'd have party pie. I remember dinner would be 2 party pies and a sprig of parsley,
And
and
then
there was no
dessert
party attached.
would be like a vanilla sliced jelly cake type thing, of which if
Yeah,
your dog ate it, it would get eczema. So you would not give it to your dog. Yeah.
yeah.
It,
This
and,
is
and
the way
so
it's taught. Yeah,
and
and
so
going
we
back
can
to
sort of
what you said, this is another thing I learned from Lee, a pharmacist on our side who's coming on Wednesday nights now, every second Wednesday night. And he said, you've got to let go of hate, because if you hold on to it, it's like holding on to a cactus. You're the only one uh,
yeah,
that
that it
suffers,
affects.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and now at this stage here, 5 years in, even though I've had loads of trolls attacking me, all this stuff, I actually don't have any hate in me. And that's sort of my own personal victory. They've tried to get me to hate, and I've
Yeah.
refused through choice. And
And
so, you know,
that's winning. That's a winning
yeah,
situation because the world's see what people what I mean I believe this. I can't, most of the things I talk about will be very validated by evidence. But recently I've done some work and some training that's around the interconnectedness of intent. And so beautiful, positive intent is so powerful. They say love conquers all. Love is all powerful. It is. And so by you doing that, it changes the world. Because by intent, when you look at things like remote viewing and that, where someone can have an intention on one side of the world, pass 6 numbers off to someone else on the other side of the world who focuses and concentrates and trains their mind to understand what they could be, and they draw a picture and it's exactly the same picture that person was looking at over there,
yeah,
and they have never ever seen it. They just saw 6 numbers. How does that work?
yeah.
How is it every time when you think about, in my old profession, I would think about a patient with love, kindness, and care, going, I wonder how they are, and they're there the next day. I hadn't seen them for 2
Oh
months.
my God. That happens so often. You
Doesn't
think to
it?
someone and then you run into them. You go, how?
You-
You know?
And it's not by accident or coincidence. It's like
No.
what we do as people, we just think, and that's the part of the brainwashing and the social engineering is we've got 12 cranial nerves,
Yeah.
right? And we're told we only have 5 senses.
Wow.
Now, all of those senses are allegedly linked to cranial nerves, but only 5 of them are senses. Those other cranial, they don't mean anything. I don't know. We don't know. No, nothing else. It's only got 5 senses.
Well,
You heard
let's
about
go back further. Let's go back to prehistoric times, which is not that far away, geologically. Say you and I were hunting, and the men of a tribe, say there was 12 of us, we're out there hunting, and we're trying to round these animals up, and we're basically a few kilometers away from each other trying to herd them in. What better way to communicate than somehow psychically or something? I just feel it would be a natural tool for communicating. And you see it in seagulls. You go down to the beach and you look around, there's one seagull near you. You don't see any other seagulls. You give it a chip. There's seagulls from everywhere. And you just wonder, the seagull certainly doesn't call out and go, hey guys, because he wants the seagull all for himself. But somehow they all come in. And I just do wonder if there's greater connections. And I've seen it with mothers and children. I remember I was living with this woman once, and she said she'd be thinking about what to cook her children for dinner. And her oldest daughter would suddenly go, well, why don't we have sausages? Like she'd asked her daughter. And these get discounted like they're nothing. But I think, no, we're far greater and more wondrous than what we've been led to believe. Now with all this useless eaters and everything, they try to dumb us down and make us feel almost redundant. Where in actual fact, in this sphere of the universe we live in, we're miraculous. It's stunning what we can
agree with you more. It's just we are so, because It's just, I could not agree. I think it's one of the things we need to get our head around right now, and not just like, it's okay, question it, question everything about us being miraculous. I
Yeah.
often speak I would speak to chiropractors and I would say, hey, look, if we had some technology, so we're going to stack 3 bits of technology up against each other. We're going to look at a rocket ship and some satellites, and everything to get anything to space and back. We're going to look at a supercomputer, an AI supercomputer, and all this kind of stuff, and we look at a human body. And I'm going to ask you which, and I might have mentioned this in the categories before, but it's a similar thing. Which of those is the most sophisticated technology?
The human body.
And everyone, yeah, like some people go, oh, this, maybe this, but then human body. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're going to deal with the human body and assist the human body, what's the most sophisticated technology we can use in order to treat, to detect and sense the human body? What's the most sophisticated technology we can use?
Ooh. No, you got me. Is it
It is
spiritual?
the most sophisticated technology. It is us.
Wow.
You can't build us. You can't
Yeah.
make us. You can build a satellite, you can build a supercomputer. You can't build a tree. You can't build that. We are the most sophisticated technology on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
And when we realize that and we raise our levels of consciousness, and I hate using these words. I
No,
feel
they're great
unqualified.
because you're empowering us. This is what we
I
have
feel
to do.
unqualified, but it is true, is that we have 12 cranial nerves. Come on, guys, go out and use some more.
Yeah.
Gut instinct, trust it.
Yeah.
You know when there's an evil motherfucker in the room.
Yeah.
I've been to a courtroom and you can tell that barrister over there that's just a sweating, horrible, bald, unhealthy looking, fat at the hips dude. I'm not being anything to people, okay? I'm just explaining someone I've seen. And they're clammy. And you can tell that they are just an evil, evil, evil person deep down. I know there's a possibility for them to be good and they could inform. I'm with you. But you can sense it. You can tell. Now,
Yeah.
some people would be intimidated by that and just fall to bits. Other people would go, well, I can see he's like that. Well, let's poke that bear. Let's let that person know. And then they'll play it to their advantage. Some people just go, you know what? I don't need to be bothered with him
Yeah.
because I'm not going to live in the swamp. But until we learn to use our detectors around this, our gut instincts. Now, I ask you, is love a sense?
Look, I don't know what love is. I sometimes think it's one of the great powers of the universe, of which we're a part. You know, it's I think someone once told me early on, we're talking about, I used to love talking about God, and this person said to me, God is love. That's simple as that. It's just his power. So, and I remember this midwife said to me, she had 10 kids. And I said, 10 kids? I said, how could you love 10 kids? You got 10 to spread out. And she said, they bring the love with them. And these old sayings are profound. And
that's so beautiful.
I know, man. I capture these. This was my playwright days. I just loved talking to people. And there's a poetry to everyday people. They don't even realize it. And they have the wisdom they spread out. That, yeah, it's I tell you one thing. I had this crappy job once, and there was this guy there who was a nutter, but he was really funny. And this one guy he was in his 50s, he wanted to be a singer. He had a gig in a restaurant just singing, you know, and for him it was like Broadway, but I think it was just like a food hall thing. Anyway, at the last minute they cancelled, and he got really upset. He was actually crying. And this guy, Wayne, he suddenly said, "What are you going to do, Terry? Pussyfoot through life till you arrive at death safely?" And I said to him, "Where did you hear that from?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" "What you just said, is that a quote you've heard?" He goes, he didn't even understand what I was saying. I said, "That's profound, man. This is profound." You know, and he just spat it out. So I've always had a love for people. I really have. Just what they go through. Even like just yesterday, I interviewed a young, and I will say this because it'll probably get me in trouble, but the interview's up, is a young white heterosexual male in Cooma. And the reason I say that is he said, I'm seen as a racist, I'm seen as an extremist just because I want to be proud of my heritage. And I said to him, I said, well, look, my father is 100% Welsh. My sister had his DNA done. So that means he's white right the way back to whatever, which means I'm the same. Now, I don't have problems with any other culture, but I think, well, if I'm not proud of my heritage, if I go along with the toxic masculinity and saying that white people are bad, which is the groupthink at the moment, I'm insulting all the people that have gone to make me, all the trials and tribulations they've been through, from
Yeah.
depressions to war to other great changes. No, I should honor them, and I honor them by being proud of myself and being proud of
Mm.
my culture. And that just because I'm saying I'm a proud white man doesn't mean I'm putting down white Aborigines or African Americans or anything, because they say it and it's not a problem. But I just thought I'm going to let this man have his say because I feel he has a right. You know,
Mm.
he's sick of the shame. He
Mm.
wants to be proud. And we've got another guy that comes on the show, Wayne. He does Tuesday nights, and he said the same. He wants his children to be proud to be Australian, proud to be human beings. And I think this is what we're going through, this whole exodus or awakening where we're suddenly questioning everything and going, how do we get to a future that's more conducive to our souls? Because
Yes.
we're good people and they're taking us into darkness and we know it. We
Mm.
don't want to go there. So yeah, sorry to ramble, but it was just interesting.
No,
These are the
it's
discoveries I make on the path, you know.
yeah. No, look, I think, and these are the things that we actually need to talk about in order for us to say, okay, how do we create greatness? Because if you ask me, that gentleman from Kuma, he's creating greatness.
Yeah,
He's
me
not
too.
saying anything about anyone else.
No,
And they don't like it when you create greatness, do they? Because he's
no,
proud to
yeah,
be, a white man with his heritage. And there is nothing wrong with that. And so
no,
he should be proud. As I am proud, as you are proud, as everybody should be proud. Now, that I am very happy for other people to be proud of their heritage as well. I think that's a fantastic thing. If we're all proud of
yeah,
our own
I agree.
heritage, the world would be a better place.
Yeah, I
It's
totally
different
agree.
to, and it's
But we're
different to the
harder
crap.
to control if we're
Oh,
proud
you know what?
and powerful.
Absolutely. And that is when our power is right there, is when we have the pride of heritage. We understand who we are. We understand that we can heal, and we understand that we've got everything right there. We understand we are the most sophisticated piece of technology on this earth.
Yeah,
Good luck dealing with
absolutely.
me,
Yeah,
because we are. Yeah. I
I
recognize
totally
that.
agree.
You recognize that.
Yeah,
Everyone should recognize that. Now, uh, well, there's multiple layers to that there, but that's how we start to create greatness. Is to say, hey, we don't, and like, so people say, Herm, well, that's not changing anything. The power of intent. It does. 100% without exception. That will change. Because as I said, you can sense an evil motherfucker walk into the room, and I apologize for the language, but that's the only
no,
way to
you do.
explain them.
You
But
get
how
it.
about this?
You get their energy.
Then you have
Feel it.
someone walk in the room who's really cool, who
Yeah,
loves people, who is a generous, great person, and they start talking and they've got charisma. You feel it.
yeah,
Everyone's attracted to them.
yeah,
Okay, it's the same thing in physiology within our body. So we have a negative and pessimistic thought. It goes into a nucleus within our brain. That's exact now that, and so a lack of motion in your body goes into exactly the same nucleus in your brain, which causes stress physiology, breaks
yeah,
our body down, can't heal well. Positive and optimistic thought, love and kindness, and healthy motion throughout your body goes into a different nucleus in our brain. And guess what that causes? Healing and repair, parasympathetic dominant effective physiology.
Do you know that reminds me of all these nurses I've talked to who said in the COVID period, people were basically dying alone in hospital.
Yeah,
And they were saying what they needed was their loved ones. You're sick,
100%.
you need your loved ones around. That was one of the greatest crimes that we committed. Everybody who's listening will have heard this story, but this is my favorite story. There was a grandmother dying in a nursing home, and of course, they wouldn't let the family in because, COVID. So her granddaughter, this teenage girl, used to break in at night and spoon her because she didn't want her grandmother to
Awesome.
die alone. Now, what I want in the future, if we ever reach the golden thing, is that either that's the stuff of movies or that's the statue. We don't have a statue of Dan Andrews. We have a statue of this girl spooning her grandmother
Grandmother.
as if to say love mattered more than the fear of COVID.
Because she's a
That's
war
it.
hero.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. If I ever
That's a
meet her,
true-
I'm going to be like in
Yeah.
praise of her.
That is a true war hero, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff of legends. The stuff of, because so many other people just, I took it for granted. And this young girl goes, no, I'm not letting my grandmother die alone.
Absolute
And
warrior.
I can't think of anything worse. Because, see, my mum and used to work in nursing homes when I was young. And she used to work with nuns. And the nuns used to run the nursing homes. And they would never let anyone die alone. If there was someone there had no family, they would pay someone to sit with this person. No one died alone. How beautiful is that?
But that's true humanity, isn't it?
I know.
It's beautiful stuff. It's funny because the funny you say that is, like if you look at cancer treatment now, it is horrendous. It is the worst. Like traditional medical cancer treatment is a joke. It kills more people. There's no doubt about it. It's horrendous. But what I do think is different is when someone gets cancer and they go into a hospital situation, there's these amazing little angels around. They're called nurses come around, and they care for the person, and they get the family, and then the family comes around. And all these wonderful people give love and caring and say things that they never got to say before, but they want to say to that person now. And all of a sudden, this person gets better. When they were being fed poisons and toxicity, which basically should kill them, and most people probably do die at a point in time because of that poison and toxicity, but not in that setting. When there's love and humanity and what life is really about happening in overdrive. And you see that time and time
see
and
it.
time.
If you want to see humanity, especially amongst men, something I love about men is you're going down the highway and there's some poor guy pushing his car. And next minute, guys come from everywhere. There'll be 2 or 3 guys, maybe more. Everyone pushes the car. And afterwards, they don't go, okay, that'll be $50, mate. They don't shake hands and try to build a relationship. They don't go, can I take an Instagram picture of me that I helped you? I want people to know. They go back to the cars and take off, and they never even learn this guy's name.
No.
They just do it.
That's just beautiful.
And it's
another one.
Undervalued thing, but you can do it. I know Bill Lober's watching, and he's a mechanic from the country. He says he'll be driving in the country, and he told me this, Bill, so I'm recanting this story. And someone's pulled over. He pulls over and just goes, "You okay?" And they're like, "What are you doing?" We had a guy the other night. I've said this story, but it was important. We were at some truck stop, and he'd had a flat tire. He was like in his early 30s, I think. And he didn't have the thing to take the wheel nuts off, so I helped him with that. And then he goes to give me $50. I'm going, mate, this is bloke shit. Get out of here,
That's
even
insulting.
though I could have used the $50, I'm saying, no, mate, put it on. You see someone else broke down, help. That's it. This is some beautiful thing amongst men that men just do,
Yeah. I think, and this is whether I'm right about the 12 cranial nerves or not, I think it's something to do with, and it's our senses as well, because this isn't and it happens amongst men. It may happen a little bit. You could be traveling overseas and you can be in a line, and let's say in a country, let's pick any country, but loves lines and queues and they're crazy, Italy.
Yeah.
And stuff will go everywhere. And you look over at a bloke and you just nod at each other and you know he's Australian. It's not just because of the way he looks. You're just like, you look in your faces, this is a complete shit show. How are we ever going to get through this? Look over at this other bloke, he looks at you, he's like, yeah, mate, I know what you're thinking. And there was no word spoken. And you'll never speak to him again.
Yeah.
But both of those two people knew exactly what was going on at a point in time.
Yeah. And it's like, even with the cars pushing the car, there's an ability to that. And this is, I want to talk about this for a sec. I stayed with, not all day, but we were at the house of the granddaughter of the grandmother who was killed by a police officer in the nursing home, tasering her twice.
Oh,
this big guy. That's the one in Cara. I didn't meet him, but he tasered her twice, and he's had 250 hours of community service. Now, apparently, and allegedly, what I was told was that how he got off is, he said in the training manual that he had was an earlier version than the current one. In the current one, it says, don't use the taser on children, pregnant women and old people. And he says that wasn't in my training one. And apparently that's how he got off. But my thing is, mate, the reason it wasn't in there is it didn't have to be fucking in there because
Yeah,
you're a
100%.
big motherfucker and this is an old lady. And I can't comprehend how you've managed to grow up and think that it's a right thing to do.
Yeah.
I don't care if she had a friggin' machine gun. This is a 95-year-old woman who's brought up 8 kids by herself. 95-year-old woman. You could have just put the couches around, sat down, made a cup of tea, put on Frank Sinatra. There's so many things you could have done. But you tasered her twice.
Mm.
I don't understand that from a male. And every man I ask, because I say this to men like your questions. I go, Anthony, when did your father sit you down and go, Anthony, you can't beat up old ladies? And
Yeah.
you're going, oh,
Yes.
really?
It's like, that's-
Yeah, you laugh at it because it's a joke. Of course you don't do that. Of
But there are
course you
some.
don't. We're never taught that.
But
But here
how
we
can we
are
take?
now in this era where police officers not only do it, but they do it publicly where they're filmed doing it. And I
Yeah.
can't comprehend how we've got to that level where these guys can be employed and they're doing that. We had another guy another police officer a few days ago pushed this woman over from the side, smashed her head into the pole. Now the woman might have been out of order, but you pushed her over into a pole. You just,
Yeah.
like King did almost. I don't understand how men have got there from the men that I've grown up with.
Yeah. And how that shift in society that permitted that.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure in my grandfather's day, if a police officer did that to an old lady, that he'd have, and I'm going to use the words, there would have been a bunch of blokes around that would have beaten the shit out of him
Yeah.
and pulled him off.
Absolutely.
You ever do that again? And yeah,
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
but what
You know?
we're taught now, oh no, that's not. Now I'm not saying be violent and beat the shit out of people at all.
No.
The concept of that is that there would have been people to say, hey, no, mate, that's not right. Get away. Not enough. Can't do
Yeah.
it. They would have. Someone would have been there because I ask a question. Was that police officer alone? Was there anyone else with him? Why did the other officers not stop this clown from doing that as well? I don't
No,
know the
he
situation.
had a superior officer. She was a woman. And so, look, I don't know. I don't want to speculate because I don't know all the circumstances. All
That's
I
where
know
our
is that he
society's
had
got to.
enough of it. But the thing was, I can't possibly conceive of anything that justifies that action. It's the same with the police in Melbourne. They were beating up old ladies. There was another lady in Coffs Harbour a nurse, she was in her 60s. She was thrown down the floor by 2 cops because she wasn't wearing a mask. They broke her sternum. I don't understand. I can understand you beat up the guys. I get it. I can get it. I'm not condoning it, but I can understand that more. But mature older ladies, I just can't comprehend it.
Oh, you cross the board.
Especially as these men have grown up with every second bus stop saying violence against women is bad, and the police videos themselves come out going violence against women is bad, and yet they're the perpetrators. Not all of them, of course, not all of them, but
No.
in their munch they have these ones, and
Yeah.
staggering. It's staggering.
Yeah, it's a question of where we've got to.
Yeah.
Like men, I mean, it's hard to put everyone in a bucket. Does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, but just overall, that level of not social engineering, but the reality engineering, that's taken place for us to get there, is exquisite.
Yeah,
And
it's like a
the fact
spiritual sign that goes wrong way, go back. That's where I
Yeah,
feel we are.
yeah,
We're
and
not
that,
going somewhere that's Australian.
and
We're not the
when you look at
Australians that we want to live in.
the eloquence of common law in that was, don't cause harm or loss. Don't
I
threaten.
tell the
Be
common law
responsible for
people,
your
I have had
actions.
them on. I have had Wayne Glue and I've had Rod Cullerton and I've had other common law people that I talk to. What I think is if we get to a new Australia, the promised land, I think rebuilding that on common law would be a beautiful something to do. This is where we want to reach, a new country where this is the law, because I think it's beautiful and it just
Yeah.
makes so much sense. But
I've got to say, Michael,
at
we
the
have it
moment,
already.
we're in crazy time.
Yeah, but what we've got to understand is it's there. We have it already.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not saying the Constitution's perfect at all. There's a bunch of stuff I'd change in there, but there's a bunch of stuff that just says we have an agreement. You can't breach that agreement at the moment. And
Yeah.
that's already under common law. We already have the beautiful, but what we do is we don't step up and stand there. We've got to learn that. And our country's
Yeah.
already changed.
Yeah.
And that's to say, hey, no, I know who I am. I'm the one on this side of the contract that demands this. So
Yeah.
if you don't do it, now I realize everyone says, okay, we don't have the guns and we don't have all this kind of stuff. Yeah, I get it. We're not asking for a war, but simply by massive numbers, it doesn't take much.
No.
But I think it's that awakening, because once one person understands it and they can explain it, and it's not threatening to people and it's not really weird anymore, all of a sudden they're great. And by intent, that will change someone else, and then someone else. Yeah. And
But what's
it's
really
based.
interesting, say with the protests, right? What you're talking for these protests, I think people have been very disillusioned with all the protests we had, but I think that's on purpose. I think they must have expected there was going to be huge protests. So their strategy, if whoever was pushing this, was ignore them. Like in America, in Canada, they were debanked, and I think they screwed up there. But they said to us, ignore us. We came to Canberra. There's talk of 500 to 2 million. Who knows that? I was there. There was a shitload of people there, but they ignored us. And it's almost like a child having a tantrum. The parent just ignores it. I think the strategy they did of ignoring all the protests, and so many towns had the biggest they ever had, was to leave us disillusioned, that we give up. This is a communist strategy. And we were in a Marxist, communist, fascist sort of time where they're trying to bring this. That's what digital ID is about, which is another big thing we're facing. And so I think we have to get cleverer. We have to. It'd be really great. If I had a chance, I'd love freedom people to sort of sit down and evaluate the last 5 years. What worked? What didn't? Why didn't it work? What could we do better? What could we try? Who's got ideas? And just reevaluate and move forward, because we are it. I do not believe that anyone's coming to save us. I do not believe in a savior. I don't even believe, a lot of people believe Jesus is going to come and fix it all. I think, why would he? He's already given us, if there is a God, God has already given us the tools we need to repair this and fix it ourselves. So why would he come and do it for us? Why bother giving us the tools at all? This is a time to define ourselves as human beings, as men, and say, in this time space continuum now, who we're going to be, and are we going to be the architects of the future or the slaves?
Absolutely. It's very, very eloquently put. And I'm with you. I do not believe anyone's coming to save us.
Yeah, and Australians were not built to be slaves. I totally believe that. It might have been now because we're stuck with huge mortgages, and I get it. You've got this massive mortgage. You want what's great for your children, the future. I get all of that. But there is a time in our lives where we have to start questioning or exploring, what does it mean to actually be a human being? And what do our kids actually need? They need you. You're the father. They want you. They want the mother. They want love. They want purpose. And that's because AI is coming along to make, like they were talking about, doctors will be the first to go, or all these jobs that are going, and they're saying, oh, well, they'll just get another job. But a lot of these jobs are callings. And you get a calling for a job. You don't get a calling for many jobs. And so we're going to have a desert of basically people with meaningless, purposeless lives. And what I do totally believe, and this is only for the last few years, I was asking this to Lindsay, a psychologist, the other day. Nature is thrifty. She doesn't like waste. So if nature has given us a hunger for meaning, I don't believe she would give us a hunger for meaning if there wasn't a meaning out there to fulfill that hunger, that appetite. And it's the same with God. I don't think God would give us this drive to find a purpose or meaning in our lives and not have any meaning to find. I think it's one of the challenges of your life. And I'd love to teach this to kids. Your first challenge in life, find out who you are. What are you bringing to the poetry of humanity? Be yourself. This is why we're pushing
Yeah.
this blue bee now as a symbol, because the blue bee doesn't live in hives, doesn't follow a queen, and vibrates to get things out. And I'm thinking that celebrates individuality. And
Yeah.
this is it, you know?
Yeah.
That's how precious it is. Like, you've got 3 daughters. When my kids were growing up, I realized these aren't clones. These are brand new human beings that vaguely look like me, but they
Mm.
are their own people. I just thought that was
100.
incredible.
Yeah, 100%. And I think I love what you're saying there, because in opening up our world, they can develop that sense of purpose. We've
Yeah.
got to help them. And you know what you do? You don't teach your kids a sense of purpose. You got to
No.
allow them to explore, to find their
Yeah.
sense of purpose.
Yeah.
And it's this, and there's almost 2 parts in the world. There are people that are just going along with everything as it is, and their sense of purpose will be the manufactured industrial sense of purpose, or whatever it might be. But then there's a whole bunch of other people, and I believe that the normal distribution curve, that mean is shifted now, and it's getting across into our
Yeah.
favor. There's a greater proportion across it where they're going, no, what is my sense of purpose? I don't want to be a
Yeah.
debt slave and own a house with a mortgage.
Yeah.
With a death pledge. Let's use the correct language. With a death pledge. I don't
Yeah.
want that. I want this. I don't necessarily want to get a job. One of my middle daughter is like, Dad, careers, what a load of crap. And I said, I agree with you.
Yeah.
Going to a careers fair. I get it. I agree. Understand, because what do they want you to become something? What do you know when you're 14 years old about the world?
Absolutely. And
Why would
also
I then say, what are your 3 greatest questions in life that you can't answer at the moment, and will help you out with them?
Yeah.
That's the greatest
Yeah.
careers fair you're ever going to have.
Yeah.
Because next you'll have 3 more, and next you'll have 3 more,
Yeah.
and they'll just learn how to. And wow, you know what would be? They've answered across the. I mean, I'm not a big fan of school. Sorry, but the way it's structured at the moment, love learning. Not a big fan of school. But if you had to go, they've had 12, 15 pertinent, so 18 pertinent questions answered across their entire life. They've explored. That's more than most people have done in their entire lives that have been brought up in the system to this point in time.
Yeah.
They would be lucky to explore one question that they couldn't answer.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I like, if I had my time again, I don't regret it, but if I had my time again, I would have homeschooled my children,
Mm.
because
Mm.
the last 5 years traveling around, whenever I meet homeschool kids, they're different. They're alive. They're like looking around, soaking up everything. They're learning at
Mm.
their pace, and they're clever, and they're bright, and they're proud of themselves. They come up and they say, "Oh, hi, I'm Damien." You know what I mean? Whatever, like this. I think there's something really behind it. I even saw a thing the other day, a picture of Amish men in the 1950s going to jail because they wouldn't put their kids in the schools.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, wow,
Warriors.
good on you,
Yeah.
Amish, you know? And I
Yeah.
think this is it. The kids have been indoctrinated in schools. The stories we're hearing of what they're being taught now, I actually think school is detrimental to them, you know?
Oh, I would agree. They learn nothing
Be a blue
about
bee.
health.
Thanks, Adrian.
Yeah. Nothing about health. Nothing about business.
No,
Nothing about what it is to be a beautiful person.
no.
I mean, and yeah, that one I couldn't agree
Well, what
more.
we're talking about now is this is what our generation has to do now. What we're talking about now is identifying the problems, like a plane crash. What happened to our society? As COVID came along and Australia crashed, and everyone wants to move on like nothing happened. But no, we have to investigate. Why did we crash? How do we not crash again? And now the bigger questions is, how do we get somewhere better? Not going back to what we were. How do we get to somewhere even better? Because
Yeah.
the politicians aren't going to take us there. They can't. I don't know what's wrong with them. I have my suspicions, but we have to do this, and we will be the better for it if we
Yeah.
achieve it ourselves through working together. And the first thing really is conversation, identifying problems, what we want for the kids, what we've learned, and other things here now. We've
Mm.
basically mushrooms coming out of the closet going, no, no, there has
And,
to be a better way to live than this.
and if I was to be able to ask that question 6 years ago, pre pandemic, would you have thought like that?
Well, in my theatre, I was very interested. I was making a living
Yeah.
as a playwright, and I was always very interested in the human condition. But also, this was really interesting. Even though I was having success, I always felt like a tourist. And in my quiet times, I'd always fantasize about another life, and I'd, just imagine. So since COVID come along and I've done this work, I never fantasize to be about anywhere else. I'm always 100% present. And so even after my heart attack and all things, I took a few weeks, and thanks, Peter, for allowing me to stay at your place. Took a few weeks to get better. And then I was hungry to get back to work. And when I interview people, like in this interview now, or interview the 3 people I interviewed yesterday, or 4, I love discovering through these people. I love hearing what they think of life and what they've learned and how they've got through tragedy. Like last night, we interviewed a Matt, who's a radiologist, I think, who son had to have a heart transplant. What he was radiographer had to have a heart transplant because COVID, the shots mRNA destroyed his heart. That's on record. It's proven. He had 80 days in ICU. At one point, they left his chest open because they couldn't keep opening and closing it. They did that about 4 or 5 times. So he had his chest open. He's there. It was really traumatic. But at the same time, I thought, how miraculous are we? We've taken a heart of someone who's died, put it into this young man. And he didn't come on the show, but afterwards we did. Paul and I got to meet him online. And here he is. He's getting on with his life. He's put on a bit of weight and he's living. I'm thinking, he's got a new heart, someone else's heart. How dinosaurs didn't do that, as far as we know. It's just, we have the capability of being utterly extraordinary, but at the same time, to be like we see in Gaza and Israel now, to be cruel beyond our ability almost to comprehend it.
Yeah, to be horrendous.
It's choice.
It's funny, and when you say it's choice, it's really interesting, Damien, because I often think about this to myself. It's like, really, who's making the choices? And really, who's making because it's a great question. It is a choice because we're sitting here making choices, and I can see that, and that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I know so many people like this who have made the choice, and to say, hey, we're not going to, and even I'm saying to people now, don't fight in the swamp. Don't bother fighting. You're wasting your energy. Put it towards creating greatness. Okay. Yeah. Now, but so who's making the choices at the other end? I don't believe there's that many people making the decisions at the other end for this horrendous outcomes.
No,
I believe most people follow. They follow unblindingly because maybe it's through greed, maybe it's through ego, maybe it's through a love of something.
Maybe it's through disempowerment. They've been cleverly, like you said early on, the engineering, they've been brilliantly disempowered that they don't feel they have the power to change their lives.
And so what I think there is just as someone else can influence them and make decisions over here, so can we make decisions over here that are equally, if not more powerful.
Yeah.
Because I believe that the positive and the love, that love conquers all. That love is far more powerful. It's a decision made in love to make the world a better place will always prevail.
Well, I have evidence for that. I have evidence for that because we're still talking about love now. Now, in the human history, we've had genocides, famine, ridiculous wars, all manner of violence. We should be the Klingons, this hateful, bitter, warlike species that just wants to kill each other. And instead, when our children are born, one of the first things they do is draw happy. As soon as they can draw it properly, they draw houses, they draw families, they draw a version of love. They are born with the ability to fear and love, and we are taught to hate. So love has survived. Hate, for everything it's thrown at love, love still survives and thrives, and it's sought after and valued.
It's the basis to our existence.
Yes, that's what I truly believe.
Yeah. Well,
and that, but I don't care.
But that's our way out. That is our way out. And in this country, it's that love. It's the love of the land, of the people, of the environment, everything about it, the concept.
Yeah. I saw it last night with
the
the
love of the
Father.
illusion of it as well.
Yeah, and we
All of it.
don't even have to comprehend what it is. It's maybe
No.
beyond our comprehension, but we know it.
Mhm.
And it's it's amazing. Look at all the songs we've written to it, all the films we've made to it, the stories and stuff.
Mm.
It's it's amazing.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing, you know?
I think that's why when we look at the why they've tried to crush the creative arts as well and put them in in a place that they're irrelevant.
Yeah,
They don't count anymore. We've got tech, and that's
yeah,
because where were the stories portrayed? Where were
yeah,
the beautiful stories told? Where was the sense of feeling? Because you
yeah.
can watch something, but if you hear someone in real life talk about something, you don't just hear it. The energy that comes out of someone when they're speaking, you feel it.
Mm,
It's very, very different
mm,
because you can tell, like, it's a bad example, but when you say, "Can you please do something?" Someone will hear it. It's okay. That's great. That's lovely. I'll do that. Or if you yell at someone, "Can you do this for me?" It's a totally different experience at the other end.
mm, mm,
It's an utterly different experience. It's at an energetic level. It's at a light
mm,
level, and
mm.
light, water, and magnetism rules us, physically,
Yeah,
which then is the connection between us spiritually.
yeah,
Um, uh, Totally different experience. And so we have to, as Australians, and so say, how do we get that back?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's
this is it. These are the fundamental conversations we gotta have.
and
What
you
is
can't.
the foundation of our society?
Yeah,
You know?
and the thing is, like in the past when we had tyranny across, it would be poets and actors and everything that would travel around the countryside and talk to people, or orators, would go around and talk to people, and they'd pass on a message that was eloquent and so well spoken that everybody could understand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now,
That's
the
why I
people on the
think if we
internet.
look back at, say, Henry Lawson and Banjo Paterson, what they celebrated in the Depression, which must
Mm,
be excruciatingly difficult, is they captured and celebrated humanity. And I
yeah.
think now this is what we have to do. Our humanity's been tested in these last 5 years. People don't wanna talk about it, but I'm of a belief that simply because a lot of us screwed up, we've all made mistakes, but our souls are born with the ability, like our bodies can heal themselves, redemption for the soul
Mm,
is always possible. And you
yeah.
just choose love and greatness and kindness and go this way. I know there's a guy watching here. I don't know if he's still watching, Michael. He used to be a CFO, and I interviewed him. He's a big 6-foot Dutch guy, and he was being flown around the world, first class to fix problems. You know what I mean? He was making a lot of money. Now he's learning to be a psychic healer,
Mm,
and he basically house sits, and he's broke and he's lost everything, but he's found purpose. When I was in the hospital, there was this big nurse, and I heard him say that he used to be a stockbroker, but he gave it up because he just wanted to help people. He wanted to have
mm,
a positive difference in people's lives. This is where I see the hope for us.
yeah.
This is a big empty universe, and on this planet, it's hi, and that's him. Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
Michael.
I
Hey,
can see that.
Michael.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not even Michael. Can you type your second name? See if Adrian, see if Anthony can say it, because I'm not even going to have a crack. But the thing is, this is where we are. I'd love
Mm,
to leave a planet to my kids and my kids' kids, where they've forgotten. They have so much freedom, and the world is basically geared towards human beings at the core of it, and all the technology allows them to grow. So it's humans benefit, instead of, at the moment, was like we're on a road that the almost dodo. They talk to us like we're dodos.
mm,
I just love to where was I going with that? I'd love to do that. I don't know how, but that's my thing. I want my son, my grandson, my daughter, my granddaughter to be proud of being a human being, to shrug off the
mm.
prison guard, which is this thing that says, if I say that, what will people think? So they get rid of that and they discover who they are, and we just all continue to grow because there's no one else out there. This is it. We've got this one incredibly beautiful planet. And if you don't think it's beautiful, get on the road and just drive for a few days.
Go take a look. Yeah.
It's stunning. And we can all fix it. We all have the power within us. We just have to pick up our weapons. Freedom of speech is a weapon against tyranny. We don't hand it over. Freedom of choice is a weapon against slavery. Don't give it up. This digital ID is coming. We could simply say, if you bring in the digital ID, we're not using the internet. And it'll change in a day,
I always said with COVID, we just had to say no.
That's
no,
it.
thanks.
Like your
Just say
ancestors.
no, thanks.
Yeah.
I didn't even be polite about it. No, thank you.
No.
And I think that's, and it comes back to like what can we do, and what is understand, is ask, is question everything as well. Know that every day you're going to unlearn something.
Yeah.
Know that every day it's going to happen for the rest of your life. Okay, you're going to unlearn something. Know that every day for the rest of your life you're going to learn something beautiful and wonderful. Know that every day for the rest of your life you're going to create something. You're going to choose to create something that's great. Every day, take a step in the right direction. Because when you look at this, it sounds like enormous, doesn't it? You said, I don't know how to do it. And that old Chinese proverb came to my mind. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Just take a step.
I think it was Gandhi or Mandela that said everything's impossible until someone does it. Something verbatim. And this is it. And it maybe this is what we're going through. Maybe this is the test. The test is for us to realize that we are, as Peter, I think, what's his name? Peter Pham, the lawyer who's on our side, he says it, we're all splinters of the divine. That's our consciousness. I think our consciousness, and that's what, when you say someone dies, the consciousness is gone. You can feel the car's there, this body, like a car, but the driver's gone. That's what I felt every time I was around dead people. And that driver, that consciousness, surely that's a direct connection to some form of a God. I'm not even going to conceive how it would be, but you would think that, what I mean?
From a universal energetic point of view, or universal energy point of view, it's, I can look at it mechanistically and spiritually and put the two together as well and just say, yes, it has to be. And it's a beautiful concept too. It's not an idiotic, esoteric concept. It's a beautiful, eloquent concept.
Yeah.
And everyone's got to be not afraid to say that that's okay. It's okay to have a beautiful, because here's the point behind science. And this is what most science that we hear about is utter bullshit. It's scientism, not science. Now, the first point of scientific method, if you want to get into it, is observation. Is it observable? So that's scientific method. The first thing is observation. Then we come up with a whole bunch of crap, methodology, et cetera, to explain the observation. But observation's first.
Yeah.
So chiropractic is a beautiful thing. I'm going to come back to that just for a second. Is to say that is because it has amazing outcomes. People heal better. They have incredible outcomes. But can science explain it all? No. The science is nowhere near catching up to chiropractic yet. But is the observation the first step in science there? Yes. And back to your point, and you're saying, like this connection between soul, mind, body, and spirit, the physical, like the meat package we walk around in, is just a representation wrapped around a whole bunch of beautiful energy, which is intrinsically linked to every other energy, and that is driven by this amazing consciousness and subconsciousness that's like an antenna that's accepting everything from you. We observe it. So we're already on the scientific model. It's observation. The science isn't good enough to measure it yet and go through this. That's okay. It might catch up one day. It doesn't matter. Can we observe it? Yes, we can. Do we need to explain everything with unsophisticated technology? Do we? No, we don't. Remember what I said? The human body, how do you best detect things? With the most sophisticated technology on the planet. That's us. We can work it out. Can dogs smell cancer tumors in people? Yes.
Yeah.
Are cancer tumors what we think they are? No, they're toxicity. That's why dogs can smell them.
Yeah.
Okay. All these little things. So we don't need it. So we've got everything we need already. And the
Yeah.
model you explained is beautiful and eloquent. We're better to have models like that are a better theory of observations than scientism, popular crap that we're made to believe and forced into us. That's
Yeah.
why our kids will prosper.
Yeah.
And we don't get that just by forcing it down a textbook with kids. We get it by telling stories about it, by writing plays
Yes.
about it, by poetry. When you said to me
Yes.
something of Mulga Bill, I mean,
Well,
that's
this is
about
the importance
humanity.
of art, you know?
Yes, that's why we
And
have it.
yeah, and all the
And not
great art pieces are not a final destination. This is the final product. They've all come from a period of learning or suffering or something like that. A perfect example is Munch's The Scream picture. I often talk about that, the painting that resonates with all of us. And this is the difference about AI. I use AI for music, but we must keep some human connection to it because art is basically, it's almost like the soul's evidence of what it's learned so far. You know what I mean? On our journey to be greater human beings, this is what we've learned so far. Look at our art. We've gone from cave paintings to all these incredible artistic things we can do. Some of it's not, some of it's decoration and silly stuff. But every now and again, some piece of art comes along, like Oliver Anthony's Rich Men North of Richmond. And the whole world celebrates this piece because they get it. He wrote it out of great agony and it resonated with all of us. And Dylan's a perfect example. I was watching Dylan on Spotify last night because I'm a mad Dylan fan. He still has 16 million downloads of his music on Spotify every month.
It was such a great song. And the timing of that song was just beautiful for the world, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And that's
it
someone that
shows
just
the
took
power of art.
Yeah,
You know?
and he just took one step.
Took one step.
He just took one step.
One step. Just
And so
wrote
if
a
everyone took
song.
one step in their own way, just take one step, people.
Yeah, that's
Just
right.
take one. Learn something different. Learn that virology is a big pile of junk. Go and read something for yourself.
Do
Listen
not
to
be
some
frightened of your own power.
Yeah,
And that's what I think people are frightened of. Just how powerful they could be.
Yeah. Got to unleash that power, folks.
I'm going to call the thing now so we keep under 2 hours because then this thing will make things. But maybe we should have a chat again. Let's stay in touch. I've so enjoyed this tonight, mate. Yeah, I'm so glad. Yeah.
For me, it's been a pleasure to speak to someone. And what I loved about this conversation, we thought it might have gone somewhere, but it went to a place that was even better than that because we talked about real life and put it in the context of everything else. And I thank you so much for having me on
mate.
and,
thank you. It's
and
a joy.
the conversation.
The community here, they've loved it. There's a real community here. I can see everyone else having a ball with it. So, yes, I'll be in touch. So I'm going to go out with this. So this song, guys, I think you've heard it. I wrote this in the first lockdown when we all thought this was the end of this. It was just a poem, and I threw it in AI, and AI's put this music to it. So we don't know what we can do yet. We don't know what AI can enhance our lives, or it's a time to be courageous and a time to be wise and a time to be a period of learning, maybe, Anthony, I wish you the best. Hopefully if we come through Bright, we might meet up and have a coffee. It'd be great, brother. You take care.
It'd be fantastic to catch again. Thanks for your time.
See you, guys.
Have a good evening.
See you tomorrow, guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Dad was shaking his head down the phone. Like everyone now, he keeps repeating, who knows? I told him, make sure you keep our mom inside, for if it gets into her, she'll be gone. Then later that day Alf called, but in his smiling arms there was a frown. He said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. We woke up again, but we had nothing to do, so we had some warm fun, not once but twice. against me, reading your phone. You were scrolling through more impossible news, until despite the morning that was still kissing you, you said, you know, Mike, I have a terrible feeling that this may be the end of our times. Hey God, are you still there? Can't you see in the houses we built without you that we're all getting back on our knees? Oh Lord, do you think you could let this one pass? But God's reply was a chopper overhead, patrolling the streets with a didactic tune. And it was clear to us what its lyrics were asking, because my kids were asking it too. You know, Dad, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. You know, Dad, I have a terrible feeling that maybe this is the end of our times. But regardless, we are still holding on, despite death being due. Together we glow. It left me wondering if somewhere up there the angels were peering through a telescope at us. Well, I don't know if they know they are doomed, but from up here they look beautiful. It's like I'm looking down on a garden of Eden, full of souls constructed from stars. It's like I'm looking down on a garden of Eden, full of souls constructed from stars. It's like I'm looking down a garden